Kia ora, the return of some stronger winds as we head into Thursday, along with some heavy rainfall, particularly around the western parts of the country, and some higher temperatures still with us as well. But those westerly winds will continue to be a feature not just for the rest of this afternoon, but also through in towards Thursday as well. Now for the afternoon, we have still got some showers across the Northland, perhaps one or two heavier ones amongst that eastern side as we go through the afternoon on Wednesday. But it's down south is where we're going to find our next feature arriving. By the end of the day on Wednesday, you can see we've already got that rainfall feeding in towards Fiordland. Ahead of this front, strengthening northwesterly winds. So it will be a case of going downhill over the next day or so, with that wet weather moving northwards through the nighttime, preceded by those strong northwesterly winds and quite gusty as well. Now, in amongst this wet weather, we'll have some thunderstorms, something to watch out for as we head into the very first part of the day on Thursday for the western coast. But for the North Island, you can see it's a drier story through the night. Still more cloud across those western-facing parts of the island, and still a few showers to watch out for, perhaps in Taranaki, Auckland, perhaps even down towards the Kapiti Coast and Wellington. But on the eastern side of the country, things generally are looking drier through the night. But even here, I think we'll find that cloud thickening up across that eastern side of the South Island as we head through the nighttime. On in towards Thursday itself, you can see this wet weather continues on its northward journey, reaching on towards the North Island. Some heavy falls amongst that as well, particularly across places like the Taurua Range. Those northern parts of Kapiti and Wellington could find some heavier falls through there. And by the end of the day, that wet weather firmly in place across the likes of, say, Auckland, before we start to find things turn a bit more showery behind it. But I think the heaviest rainfall down on those western-facing slopes of the South Island. So for the southern Alps, particularly across those hills and ranges of Westland, some heavy rainfall to come for you. But for many spots, what we really notice will be some pretty windy conditions. There are some strong wind watches already in place, with those northwesterly winds set to increase across parts of Fiordland and Southland from as early as about 4 p.m. this afternoon. That's when we've got our first strong wind watch in place for those southern areas, right the way through into the early hours of Thursday morning. You can see as we head up towards the Canterbury High Country, that watch starts a little later, 9 p.m. But in these regions, we could find gusts around about 90 to 100 kilometres an hour in the most exposed areas, and those northwesterly winds stay pretty strong right the way through until 6 a.m. or so. For the Canterbury High Country. Not to be outdone, we'll find those winds streaming through Cook Strait as well, with the strong winds set to increase for places like the Marlborough Sounds, Wellington and over the hills in towards Wairarapa for Thursday. So it will be a windy looking at Thursday around those central parts of the country. We have got that watch, and again with the risk of those winds reaching gale force and perhaps even gusts into 100 kilometres an hour in the most exposed areas. So do take extra care and extra caution on the roads, especially in high-sided vehicles. It's not just the windy weather, we've also got the watches in place for some heavy rainfall as well, particularly about the higher parts of Western up in towards the ranges there, and with those stronger northwesterly winds pushing that rain and those thunderstorms across on towards the other side of the hills and towards the Canterbury headwaters of those lakes and rivers through there. So there are some watches through there. Also another watch for the Taurua Range. Now, this is on top of that rainfall we saw at the start of the week, so it's already very wet up there. So do keep extra caution out around those areas as we head through in towards Thursday. Now, as we go through in towards tomorrow, we are going to find it isn't particularly cold. Look at these nighttime temperatures to kick things off first thing on Thursday. Temperatures on the North Island very much around about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, while on the South Island, 6s and 7s are lows to start the day. Now for the North Island, we are going to find more cloud across the western facing coast to start things off. A bit of a clear start today for places like Napier and Gisborne. We will find though, as we head through the daytime, the cloud thickens up, rain increases, the showers turn to rain as we go through the daytime. Some pretty heavy bursts by the time you head through in towards the afternoon, especially across these western areas. You can see those darker blues indicating some heavier falls through there. Could still, again, be some more heavy falls through parts of the northern Wellington region and in towards the Kapiti Coast, at least for the first part of the day, before things improve by the end of the afternoon. As we head in towards the evening, this main band of rain starts to pull away. We'll still be left with some showers behind it, but I think it is worth saying, I think it will turn more showery as we head through towards the evening. But generally a fairly wet looking story for the second half of the day, with the drier weather out on these eastern facing coasts. Now, one thing we'll find, though, it's a fair bit of warm air up and across us. So our daytime temperatures, as we head in towards Thursday, really very warm indeed. Highs of around about 21 degrees Celsius up north, down towards places like Napier as well, but also it's like Wanganui. I think you could be in for one of the warmer spots. 19 in parts of, say, Palmerston North. But I think Wanganui, again, you could be reaching 21 degrees Celsius there, so a warm looking store for you and nothing cold through the night time. But bear in mind with those stronger winds, particularly around these central areas, it will make it feel a little bit cooler there. Down on the South Island, we have got a fairly good east-west split with heavy rainfall pushing through on towards these western areas pretty much from the word go. That risk of thunderstorms around those western areas as well. And with those stronger northwesterly winds, we'll find them pushing across and towards the Canterbury High Country as well. You can see, though, for most places on the eastern side, places like Canterbury and up towards Marlborough, it stays mostly dry. A few spots of rain around the foothills. But I think as we head towards the end of the day through parts of Otago, we'll find a few showers there. But the majority of that wet weather stays through Fiordland and Western. Generally a cloudy, wet story there with some heavy rainfall up amongst the higher ground. But that rain will feed in towards the lakes and rivers, which will then feed down towards the lower parts of the country. But I think for dry weather, head towards the east, but that's where we'll find those stronger winds as well. Do keep a very close eye on those severe weather watches, which you can find on the Met Service website. In terms of our temperatures, again, with that east-west split, we'll find the warmest temperatures out towards the eastern side of the South Island, with temperatures in places like Kaikoura reaching highs of 20 degrees Celsius. That's around about 8 degrees higher than average for this time of year, so a real change through there. Cloudier skies and cooler conditions on the western coast. Looking ahead in towards the next few days, we'll keep hold of those westerly winds. You can see that band of rain is clearing away, generally more of a showery setup as we head in towards Friday. And again, with that east-west split, more of those showers on that far western coast, while generally drier conditions out towards the east. Not as windy and not as wet, but you can see on the far southern parts of our charts there, the next feature runs towards us in time for the start of the weekend. That's it from me. This is from metservice.com.